Welcome to another episode of the Bamateur Hour. I'm Bama John. In this episode, I'm joined by Clay Hall, who is an Ohio State insider aficionado. He knows all things Big Ten, and he's going to give us the Ohio State Big Ten, but he also has deep knowledge of the SEC as well. So in this episode, we're going to talk SEC versus Big Ten. We're going to talk which conference better. We're going to talk which conference representatives most likely to win the Natty. We're going to talk Alabama. We're going to talk Ohio State, and there's just lots of fun stuff to talk about. Today is Tuesday, December 30th, 2025, in the year of our Lord. Thank you for tuning in. We now have over 8,400 subscribers to the YouTube channel and growing, headed to 10,000 and beyond. All right, Clay, thanks for jumping on here. There's just so much going on. I love this time of the year. I love the playoffs. It is great. Thanks for jumping in.
No, thanks. Thanks for having me, and hopefully I will live up to your expectations today. But it'll be fun just talking college football, no question about it.
Hey, what's the mood in Columbus? Just to set, what are people thinking? How are they reacting after that tough, close loss to Indiana? And what's the mood? What's the expectations?
Well, I think you go from the high of finally knocking off Michigan, getting that monkey off Ryan Day's back, and everything's great, and you cruise into the Big Ten title game, and Kirk Cignetti proves once again this is a exemplary football team, and that rocked people for 2-3 days. But you've got 25 days between games for Ohio State, and hopefully that will be sufficient for the Buckeyes. I think the line is after watching Miami, as one Miami reporter put it, that game with Texas A&M was medieval because of the physicality. And I think there's no getting around their front four against Ohio State's offensive line. And that, to me, is the key matchup here. But Ohio State fans are, they never left when you're 12-0 and you beat Michigan, that kind of win keeps you warm all winter. But with the playoffs now, it's so different, and you have to keep it going. And Ryan Day has said, even in the preseason, John, he said, our goal is to win back-to-back championships. It's never been done here. And there's been a ton of great football played here, and 40 Big Ten titles and a million All-Americans and so on and so forth. But I think he sees that as a way to say, hey, look where I took this program from Urban, who was 93-9 or something like that. Ryan Day's 82-11 for those losses to the team up north. But yeah, Ohio State fans will no doubt take over Jerry World. They always travel. Miami doesn't so much. So I think there'll be a home field advantage there. They've played there 3 straight years and have done very well there, clinched the national title there, as I recall.
That is exciting stuff. Well, Alabama down here is cautiously optimistic. Like yourself, we're coming off a tough loss in our championship game. Yeah. And we, like Ohio State, we were the number 1 seed going into the SEC championship game. Question for you all, was Ohio State healthy? Were they basically in full force, or were they diminished by any injuries going into that game against Indiana?
Nothing major. There were a lot of questions about the 2 wide receivers, Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, going into the team up north, as Urban always called them. So they recuperated in a hurry and gutted it out. And as it turned out, both had touchdown catches in that game as Ohio State won 27-9, a convincing win. Jeremiah Smith had he left a Michigan defender in his wake and made an incredible play to get in the end zone. And then Julian Sayin puts a 50-yard dart or laser, or maybe I should make it more loft, but through the snowflakes that were coming down in Ann Arbor. and he hits Carnell Tate for 50 plus yards, and that sent the Buckeyes on their way. So there were no excuses, no, none. When
against Indiana, they just beat them.
they did, and we can get into why, but
let's do that. Let's jump into that, because I think our fans are interested in, because I still believe Ohio State's the better team. I think if there's a rematch in the national championship, Ohio State's going to get them this time. And my thought was IU took the Michigan blueprint from 2024 and executed it in that championship game against Ohio State. And Ohio State seemingly, well, they missed a field goal. It should have gone to overtime, but, missed a field goal. Sure. And, just like they did when they lost to Michigan, shockingly at home, left plays on the field. And IU's a very buttoned up team, which I think Alabama's going to have to deal with, the team that just is super well coached. But tell me about that. Your thoughts on what happened there.
Yeah, I think principally Indiana's front four or front seven put Julian Sayin in a blender. And he was just always, not always, but quite often off his mark, off the platform, moving him around. And he's gotten better at that throughout the season. But they did a whale of a job, sacked him 5 times. And one of those stars up front for the Hoosiers, Stephen Daly, is out for your game.
Thank you.
The dude he had 20 tackles for loss this year, an exemplary defender. And then Ohio State, as you say, misses that one field goal. But they had 2 10-minute drives, double-digit plays, and get nothing. And that's the end of the game. I mean, that's it. They had their chances to get it done. And this kind of bubbling issue of red zone offense continues to haunt them a little bit. And there's an argument here. Do we go with this 14 personnel, 4 tight ends, 1 as a blocking back down there? And by doing that, you take the 2 great receivers off the field, and Brian Hartline, who will be coaching his last game for Ohio State as the OC, actually in title only. Ryan Day will call the plays, but he's said in media sessions this week, we're going to keep our guys on the field. So it'll be interesting how they line up once they get inside the 20 and see how that works. But incredibly disappointing was that when they felt like, they were moving the football and got themselves in position and could not finish.
Yeah, two 10-minute drives and to come up empty on both of them with the missed field goal. And didn't they go for it on 4th and 1 and didn't convert? And
right.
That's brutal. That's brutal.
That is brutal.
And in a game against the team that is, I would say, super well coached, super disciplined, doesn't commit stupid penalties, isn't going to give you much, makes you earn it. Ohio State just couldn't get those extra points. I mean, 6 points, you come away with 2 field goals, you win. You put one of those in the end zone, you win.
And what was so painful, it was the same score that Michigan had come into the shoe and won, as you said, in 24, 13-10. And when you're averaging almost 40 points a game, 10 is not going to get it. And yet the defense, for the most part, gives up 13 to a team that is averaging 40 and played very well. And we'll get into the strength of that because that defense is suffocating.
Yeah, that defense is legit, and you can't blame that on the defense. And believe it or not, even though Alabama got beat 28-7 by Georgia, our defense played really, really well.
Yeah.
And Georgia had 4 short fields and scored touchdowns on all 4 of those short fields in that game. Alabama was beat up. After we beat
Yeah.
Auburn, we kind of limped into the Georgia Dome. You may not know this, but Ty Simpson's had a back issue since the LSU
Yeah.
game, and
I've
he's been
heard that.
combating that, and he's back fine now, and that showed out in the Oklahoma game. But he
Right.
needed that 2 weeks off to get ready for Oklahoma. And in the Georgia game, he missed short throws that he never misses to wide open backs in the flat.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he just was diminished. Our center was playing on one leg, our All-American
Yeah.
center playing on one leg. We had a lot of other guys beat up, and we're healthy now. So I don't think the Georgia loss is representative to how good Alabama is and how competitive we're going to be against IU. And I think I think this playoff model, Indiana's not going undefeated. They're going to lose. They're not winning the national championship. I think the days of a team going 16-0, 17-0, and winning a national championship, that's done. I think this is like the NFL. Teams that win it are going to lose a game or 2 games, and injury at a bad time, and then guys get healthy. And fortunately, we can lose in a pathetic. And remember when we got on here at the beginning of the season, and we're talking Texas, Ohio State, and the season, and then Alabama goes and lays an egg against an FSU team that turned out to be mediocre at best. And everybody wanted to fire Kalen DeBoer, and a lot of people thought Kalen was going to Michigan. I'm like, when I looked at the film, we were not prepared for that game. Kurt Cignetti would have had a field day looking at all the mistakes, not setting the edge, missed tackles, blown assignments, rushing 8 guys and hanging out a corner against Squirrel White, who's their fastest receiver, with a freshman playing in his first game. And Squirrel White beat him over the top and you get a 50-yard touchdown, just giving up chunk plays left and right. And we looked like an ill-prepared team in that game. And Simpson played well, given everything that was going on. We were out of balance. We were 70% pass, 30% run. And even though our run game's not good, most games we're 50-50. So we make them respect the run, even if we're not putting 150 yards on the board for rushing yards. And we're way out of balance. We had 4 trips into the red zone, came up with no points on 4 trips there. It was just a comedy of errors against FSU. So you throw that game out the window. Then we went on an 8-game win streak. And you see what Alabama can be, and then we're beat up at the end. We barely lose to Oklahoma. We get blown out by Georgia, but they blocked a punt. A guy took 4 steps on a punt with, everybody coming at him. You can't take 4 steps on a punt. You're going to get your punt blocked. He needed to catch it 1 step and let it fly. And, just special teams errors. It was anyway, there's a comedy of errors, and
that'll never happen again, probably.
The Georgia fans, the SEC haters are going to dog Alabama. We got 3 losses. We're a terrible team. Well, we're going to find out in the Rose Bowl. We're going to see how good Alabama is at full strength. And I know Indiana's a good team. I'm not going to argue that. But, just letting you know kind of the stuff that's going on with Bama. And I think Ohio State's the best team. I think the 1 loss is going to fuel them on this run into the playoffs like it did losing to Michigan last year. I don't think Indiana's going to make the championship game, but Ohio State, Indiana rematch, boy, will that be. I expect Ohio State to play that differently and get a win there, but, we'll see. And that's what makes it fun. So just any other thoughts in general as Ohio State gets ready for Wednesday night against Miami, and we'll talk it more at length, but just, any other just overarching thoughts before we jump into SEC, comparing the SEC to the Big Ten and all that fun stuff.
No, I followed it from afar this week. I think they talked about, that new intensity that springs up after a loss. And even that night, I was in Indy for that game, and they were all like, we want another shot so badly, you can't believe, because they just underperformed. And they attributed it to just lack of execution. Nothing they did really fooled us, but they whipped us. And so it's time to make amends. And I think as you say, the fact that they could meet in the final perhaps is what every Ohio State fan is longing for. But I know in terms of the Cotton Bowl that Miami still holds this grudge from the 2002 national championship
Oh,
game
yeah.
and the late flag. And though Ohio State fans holler about an earlier flag that was never called on a hold that would have ended the game, at any rate, those kids who play for Miami have heard from the old timers that they stole this. They stole this from us, and it's time for us to right the wrong. So we did a podcast earlier this week with a gentleman who worked, it was a sports writer in Florida, Jeff Snook, who has gone on to write 40 to 50 sports books over his extended career. And the three of us went into chapter and verse on what that game was about and what it meant. And even Jeremiah Smith said, had Miami been better when I was being recruited, maybe I would have stayed at home, but Ohio State has been everything I wanted it to be. And I think he has healed completely from the quad strain because at one point, the night of the UCLA game, he is dragging his leg into the locker room after the game. And we know that Carnell Tate had that calf strain, but all systems are go. They're lacking a couple reserve receivers, but I think they feel like, yeah, they're good to go, and there's some good mojo, some good juju in Jerry World.
Hey, question about Julian Sand. You said he got pressured a lot. I mean, was it really just a breakdown of protection? Were they
Yeah.
sending receivers on too deep a routes and he just wasn't getting the ball out quick enough? What do you think the problems were there that he was getting sacked and taking the heat? Or is it just he hasn't experienced maybe since the Texas game a defense that was that good and they just haven't had to worry about it?
Yeah, that's possible. The thing that has plagued them all year has been the play at right guard. And that I think will be rectified with Gabe Van Sickle getting his first start
Oh, wow. Okay.
as a Buckeye. He played extensively against Indiana. Tegra Shabola is now injured and is he is I think maybe questionable, probable, but I doubt he will see the field. He's had some issues from time to time. And I think when somebody is on you in a second and a half or even two, uh, it was like, again, I go with this blender analogy, and his numbers were still good as I can recall, 19 of 26, 259, and a touchdown. But the rest of that group, I think, has some not only efficiency but some nastiness to their play, and I think they did mention on one or two slants or whatever those defensive tweaks might be for IU in that game. Now they're appraised of what they can see. And I think this Van Sickle kid is going to really solidify that situation. And Ohio State will be, I think, will give Sand a little bit more time back there. Time and space is everything in every sport.
Yeah, at Alabama, I don't know how much you followed Ty Simpson, but he's been blitzed a lot. We've had
Yes.
line issues. Our run game hasn't been great. Ty's been sacked a lot. So the fact that he's only thrown like 6 interceptions all season when he's getting lit up.
Right.
And we've had to deal with that all year, but Ty's learned how to deal with it. We've made adjustments. And you just have to see it and experience it to be able to handle it. And hopefully saying and the offenses learn their lessons from that IU game. And when they see these, because they're going to get good defenses the rest of the way. Let's face
That's
it.
it.
Miami has a good defense. If they play Georgia, they have an outstanding defense. Ole Miss, not quite as good as Miami and Georgia, but still very good. They got a lot of transfer portal hits, so they've got a good defense. And certainly in the final, whoever they play in the final will have a good defense. Alabama's got a good defense. Indiana's got a good defense. Texas Tech has an outstanding defense. And Oregon has a good defense. So, the rest of the way, it's going to be, these are going to be A-level tests. This is going to be final exam time 3 weeks in a row if they want to do it. Same thing for Alabama. So, Ty's had to deal with that, had to learn how to, one, get the ball out quickly, have some hot reads. Ty's been killed when the offense, when they'll bring 6 or 7 guys or even just 5 or 6, and then the routes, they don't have a short underneath safety valve or 2 safety valves, or the guys don't see the fact that the blitz are coming and cut their route short. And he's been nailed on that. And I don't know how much of that was a problem for saying of just not cutting route shorts and recognizing what was coming. Were they getting heat off of 4 guys, or were they normally having to blitz a guy to get to safety?
No, I think at times it was just 4, but as they began to see the blood in the water, you might see an extra guy in the box there. And their linebackers are good as well. They've been a miracle story. I mean, it just, and Bama has a chance to burst that bubble. What an opportunity, as I've heard a million coaches say. It'll be great. And IU got one of their top receivers back this week, and Omar Cooper Jr., I believe, and Elijah Surratt is very, very good. So
that Charlie Becker's really shown out too.
Charlie Becker, whose dad I think played at Ohio State, and he made the remake of the Will Howard to Jeremiah Smith throw against Notre Dame that salted the national championship away, and they pulled the same thing. Working on that Ohio State secondary. So Jermaine Matthews will be tested certainly this week and beyond if they can advance. But to me, after watching Miami and that front 7, that front 4, and what they did, 9.5 points is way, way too high to me. And I think they have a lot to play for here because because every time Miami comes along with a decent team, people, are they back? Are they back? No, they haven't been back for a long, long time. And even though Ohio State played Miami in 2010 and 11, that 0-2 game, as I keep saying, January of 2003, but the 2002 national championship game, that resonates. And it's something they carry around. It is the chip on their shoulder right now.
That's going to be a fun game. All right, let's talk SEC versus Big Ten. My contention is that from top to bottom, the SEC is a better conference than the Big Ten. I think the Big Ten has 3 elite teams. They have some, what I would call a next level group of 3 or 4 teams that are pretty good, but I still think those next level teams, and I'm talking Michigan, USC, Iowa, Illinois. I don't think they would make the top 7 in the SEC. I think they would be below the top 7 SEC teams. But I certainly think the 3 best Big Ten teams would be right up there at the top of the SEC. I'm not going to deny, and we have 3-3 left in the tournament, so that's fun. But I think the SEC's bigger, is better top to bottom. But the haters, the negative people, or the pro Big Ten people are like, oh, the SEC's washed. We've won it 2 years in a row. The SEC, Alabama's done. Saban's gone. You hear all that. you hear all that trash. And I've also heard, well, you guys fired 8 coaches this year. Well, guess what? The NFL every year is super competitive. A third of the coaches get fired every year. If you're in the SEC, the teams want to win. You have a short leash. That turnover in that conference, no matter how good the teams are. I mean, LSU's a good team. They finished 7-6, but they had a good team. But Brian Kelly wasn't doing it to their level. Gone.
No.
And I mean, we could get into a whole different discussion of why Brian Kelly got fired, why Arkansas cleaned house, Kentucky, there's a laundry list of Florida, how they underachieved with the talent they have.
Yeah.
But I just think top to bottom, the SEC is a better conference. Okay, granted, Arkansas and Kentucky,
Mississippi State.
Well, I think Mississippi State almost beat a bunch of really good teams. I mean, they were super close to beating Tennessee, beating Texas.
Florida.
And
had a few more on the for my Ohio people. This is not Michigan State. They always seem to confuse. I said it's maroon. It's not green. But and
it's Mississippi State, because you are a proud Mississippi State Bulldog graduate.
Well, yeah, you got to hang in there with this program that's had so many, not as many ups as downs. But I think Levy is realizing that. I mean, they do have a chance to triple their win total from a year ago. They got in the back door on a bowl game because of their academic pursuits. But he knows he's got to, when you got somebody by 18 at home, you got to close the door. So
you do.
I don't know this, Urban, who coached in the SEC and the Big Ten, has been touting, like you said, those last 2 national championships. I think the Big Ten had a lot of catch up to do. And I think they're kind of at, as you say, there's 3 teams apiece in this thing. Let's see how it plays out. If Ohio State plays Indiana for the national championship, that will confirm the Big Ten's. Yeah, that'll confirm.
I have to shut it up.
Yeah. That'll be the last nail in the coffin, at least for that argument for 2025.
That's right.
But as you say, Illinois didn't quite get it done. Iowa is their usual 8-4. SC, started well, didn't anyway. And there are some middle ground there with some solid teams for sure, but Purdue, Michigan State, and some others. UCLA is just they're
dreadful. They're
dreadful. In flux. Yeah, they're in flux. So I'm almost gotten to the point now when this comes up, I just throw out the bad teams. I just all right, here's 3 that can go. And so,
Think about this, Clay. Yeah. Here are 6 teams that are still not left in the tournament that would be tough to play. Oklahoma is out. They got to the tournament, but they're out. Would you want to play Oklahoma? They're going to give you a dogfight.
Right.
Texas A&M, they lost to Miami in an ugly fest, in a wind ugly fest, 10-3. Really good team. Texas was real. And if Texas hadn't played Ohio State and they had played, Southwestern Texas U, maybe they're in at 10-2. This kills me because I grew up a Vandy fan. You may not know that, but I grew up. Both of my parents are Vandy grads. I grew up in Nashville. Wow. I'm a Vandy fan. Vandy goes 10-2. An SEC 10-2 team does not make the playoffs.
Makes the playoffs.
That's brutal. But how much fits would Diego Pavia and that offense give Iowa? How much fits would they give Michigan, Illinois, USC, Washington? I mean,
well,
And then Missouri and Tennessee are really good teams too.
They are. I would say this about Iowa: you better pack your lunch if you're going to play their defense. They don't, they've always been a little below average in their offense, but at any rate,
good special teams and good defense. That's Iowa. That's the way I look at Iowa. But their offense was pathetic. I mean, they could hardly do anything.
And Kirk Ferentz had to get rid of his son, and hire a new OC, and they were better there. But at any rate, it's the cream of the crop now, and you couldn't have any better matchups. I mean, it is classic, and I hope there is no more. We were talking about this in this other pod. Uh, let's not get to 16 or 24 or whatever. You're going to kill these young men. I am not in favor. And if you're going to go that big, then you better play a 9-game regular season. These championship games, though they do decide a titleist, I'm on Urban's side about that. Because it just feels like a big money grab. And though it is great for the fans and more college football is is what I would enjoy, I just think there comes a point when, and I know the argument, they're being paid now. They are professionals.
Yeah.
And we can't say they aren't. I think they are.
Yeah.
And maybe that prepares them for the NFL, but I really, it just rubs me the wrong way because now we're on this I feel like each year, we're going to get to 16 next year.
I think 16's coming. I think that's a slam dunk.
I agree.
And I think from an equity standpoint, you want all teams to have to play the same amount of games in the playoff. From that point, I'm okay with it. But Alabama was beat up badly against Georgia in the SEC championship game, and we played like it, and we also coached like it. Like we went for it on 4th and 2 at our own 10-yard line. And then we turned the ball over on downs and handed Georgia a 7 points.
Sure.
Our guys were really, to your point, were really beat up after playing Florida State. And we had 2 break games because we played Louisiana Monroe and we played a diminished Wisconsin team and we beat the heck out of them. But then from Georgia all the way through Oklahoma, I mean, we just ran a gauntlet of SEC games and there was no reprieve. We went to South Carolina. Yes, South Carolina had a bad game, but they had us down 7 with 10 minutes to go in that game, and they have NFL players.
My partner,
Auburn, really physical, good team with good players. They didn't have a quarterback and their coaching was bad. And we had to pull that game out. And after we beat Auburn to what we thought clinch our spot in the playoffs, we just weren't prepared to lay it all on the line against Georgia. We're healthy now. We'll find out. We'll find out if my theory's right that at best, Indiana's going to beat us by 3 or 1 or 4, or Alabama's going to win because they're going to get the best version of Alabama, which we can beat anybody. But I totally respect Cignetti and what's going on. But to your point, I think 16 is going to happen. I don't want 24. 24 is ridiculous. And I think if we go 16, you have to limit the group of 5 to 1 team.
Yeah, absolutely. And that
rewards the number 1 seed for having a cupcake layup game. So there's value to being that top seed. And, but can you imagine if you had allowed Vanderbilt and Texas and Notre Dame into this field? I mean, what a great tournament it would be. It would be even better. And throw out James Madison, get them the heck out of there. Okay, you give Indiana a cupcake Tulane for the first round, and they all get a home game too. You get 8 teams with a home game. How cool would that be?
And that's what kind of I kind of was like, you just made a rematch with Ole Miss, who beat the Greenies 45-10.
Right.
I know this isn't basketball. This isn't mid-major. This thing really is for the big boys. And I think we're going to find that out more and more as the college football game evolves down the road. I get it, but neither game, and I know JMU scored some points, but Oregon was never in any distress there, I don't think. So I'm with you on that, but anyway.
Can you imagine this, a Texas-Ohio State rematch as your first round game this year back in Columbus?
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you get an Ole Miss Georgia rematch coming up on Thursday.
And
So
that's great for Ole Miss. Gives them a chance to, hey, we got you now with all the stakes, and
yeah, yeah.
I mean they had a 9-point lead in that game late and Georgia rallied. So at any rate.
All right, hey, let's talk about these 4 games, and then we'll talk about the SEC team and the Big Ten team when they're in the games. Let's start out with the Oregon Texas Tech game. Let's go through that first because neither one of our teams is in that. So we'll do the games without our teams in it first, and we'll save our 2 games for the last 2. But what are you thinking on Oregon Texas Tech? And I had some notes here on Oregon. I
Yeah.
have noted they don't have any marquee wins. I don't think you can. I don't think you can call Penn State a marquee win. They proved not to be a great team. I don't think Iowa's. It's a notable win, but it's not a marquee win. The USC not a marquee win. Washington not a marquee win. They lost at home to Indiana in what would have been their marquee win. And I noted they only beat Wisconsin 21-7. So you got Oregon, and then you got Texas Tech. And tell me what you think about this. To me, Texas Tech is a better version of Oklahoma or Iowa. They have a more potent offense, and that's how I view Texas Tech. I view this as a rematch of Oregon against a better version with a more potent running game of Iowa. That's what I see here.
I just see dollar signs that Texas Tech infused into their program, and Dan Lanning's, I think, is going to be shocked. I think Tech has a solid coach, and the Oregon Indiana. If Mendoza doesn't throw a pick, the game is not even close. And after he throws the pick 6, he takes the ball, runs it, and they go. I think they won it 30-20, but it would have been a 17-point game at Autzen in Eugene, which I got to witness last year with Ohio State doing that radio gig, and that's an incredible place for 54,000 people to sound like 80 or 90 or 100. It is special. There's no doubt. I like Tech.
I do too.
I like Tech. Oregon at time. I mean, as I looked up some of these stats, I mean, Oregon's, they score 37 points a game.
But against whom?
That's right.
Against whom? So do you agree that Oregon had a pretty cupcake schedule in terms of having, other than Indiana, did they really play that was in the top 20?
Yeah, they didn't play any, but they did not. It didn't play Ohio State.
And that reflects on how out of balance the Big Ten was.
That's the thing. That's the thing. Maybe you do need a champion. I mean, now that you've got 18 teams in this league, you can only play half of them.
Right. That's right.
And the SEC has 16 last time I checked. So it is, if you're not playing Ohio State, Michigan, they did beat SC, as I recall.
Right. They beat SC, but how good is SC? Do we really think SC is a top 20 team? I don't.
I put them in the top 25 just with their talent. I don't know about their coaching, but Lincoln Riley hopefully stays and they make some noise. We shall see. But Dante Moore.
So let me ask you this: we both think Tech's going to win this game. How does Oregon win this game?
Well, Dante Moore just plays a more he's more efficient. I mean, they're Decorian Moore, the wide receiver, is expected to be good to go. They're going to have to get some heat, on the gunslinger, and I don't know. I think it'll be close, but for some reason, I just see Tech making this, because besides Indiana, I think they are one of the greatest stories in the game this year. So let's see.
So the one thing I was thinking is that if Oregon's speed and athleticism allows them to hit explosive plays on Tech, I'm not convinced in the back four that I think they might be able to hit some big plays. And that's what I'm trying to think is somehow they just hang 30 or 35 on them and hit some big explosive plays.
Yeah.
That's how I could see them beating Tech, because I'm not sure if Tech gets down 2 scores somehow they can come back. But I think if they keep it close, that defense can force some turnovers and squeeze like Iowa did. Iowa lost 18-16
right
to Oregon, and I think this Tech team's better. So that's kind of how I'm envisioning. I'm just trying to figure out, how does Oregon win this game? And that's the only way I can see is that they just go crazy and hit a bunch of big explosive plays.
Yeah, and they can do that. So, yeah, I think it's on Moore's shoulders.
More in the receivers and maybe the running back, because don't they have some speed in the backfield where somebody could break a big run?
Yeah, and they do have some standout receivers. I have not seen much of them play, to be honest. So I saw the Indiana game and some others, but yeah, we'll see. I mean, Lanning's done a hell of a job there, but why not? He's got Phil Knight in his back pocket.
Oh yeah,
and so he can pay whatever he needs to pay. Yeah, and I thought he would be lured back, frankly, to the SEC, but it hasn't happened.
Alabama wanted him.
Did they? Yeah.
When they hired DeBoer, they talked to Lanning, they talked to Sarkisian. They certainly were looking, they obviously made the obligatory call to Kirby, but he's not leaving Georgia for Alabama.
No.
But then, I'm really happy with DeBoer. We can talk more when we get to Alabama about some coaching questions I have about DeBoer and about his staff. But I think Oregon's going to get exposed. I think they're going to be one and done. That's my thought, and I think we're in agreement on that.
Okay, doke. Yeah.
You want to talk Ole Miss, Georgia?
Yeah. Ole Miss, prolific offense, Trinidad Chambliss. No wonder they're trying so hard to keep him. And I guess Kewan Lacey, who's taken a lot of hits, it should be good to go.
He's the real deal, though. He's
no doubt.
He's a fine running back.
You think he's better than Quinshon? Comparing them at their
I think so. I think so.
More burst.
I think he's the real deal. He's got get to the second level, breakaway speed. I think he can break tackles. I just think he's what you want in a back. He can do it all. He can catch the ball. He can break tackles. He can take it to the house. Ole Miss's offense is not my question here. I think Trinidad Chambliss may be the most dangerous QB in the tournament. He is a true dual threat quarterback.
Yeah,
he can take it to the house with his legs, but he's got a great arm as well. Now, his issue is he's not as tall, so if you can get him in the pocket, he may not be able to see well enough because he's maybe 6'1", 6 feet, 6'1", somewhere in there. But
no, I know what you're going to say. Their problems on defense.
Yeah.
69th rushing defense. So you can run.
And guess what Georgia's going to want to do?
Right. Yeah. And Gunnar Stockton has surprised us all, I think, with the way he's played. So
you may not know this, but Gunnar was slated to potentially be a 5-star quarterback coming out of high school. But once he decided he was going to Georgia after his junior year, he didn't go to the Manning passing camp. He didn't go to the Elite 11. He didn't do all the political things you have to do to get that 5-star rating.
That's right.
Because he was sold on going to Georgia, and he stayed in the summer and worked out with his teammates going into his senior year. And so I think people don't realize what a gamer he is. He will run the ball and not slide. He's going to take it. He's going to keep going. And he's been money on big throws at Tennessee. They could have lost that game. He pulled that game out. I mean, really, other than not converting a 4th and 1 against Alabama when they were in a red zone and probably could have punched it in to take the lead and potentially have an undefeated season. I mean, he's been flawless. Now, granted, Tennessee missed a field goal at the end of that game, or Georgia would have lost to Tennessee. And then they won it in overtime. But so when I look at Ole Miss, and by the way, we talk about cupcake schedules in the Big Ten versus having tough schedules. Ole Miss had a cupcake schedule in the SEC. They got the luck of the draw. Their marquee win was at Oklahoma, and that's huge to go into Norman and beat them. They beat them 34-26. Out of all these notable wins, they beat LSU before LSU had fired Brian Kelly and really just ended the season, but they beat LSU 24-19, and that was one of the nails in the coffin for Kelly being fired. And that was when Nussmeier was still playing, and even though Nussmeier hadn't been healthy all season, LSU has a for real defense. And then the other notable,
they always do.
Yeah. But this year they really had a great defense. Their offense just stunk.
Yeah, it did.
They were terrible on offense. And then at Mississippi State, you have to give Ole Miss credit for going to Mississippi State and winning, given how many close games Mississippi State there. I give them credit for that. Yeah, and their loss was at Georgia, 43-35, lost by 8 at Georgia. Georgia dominated them in the fourth quarter. But other than that, Ole Miss has no other good wins. They played Kentucky, they played Arkansas. I mean, you just look at, they got the bottom end of the SEC, so they got some, those are 4 games I mentioned, but the other 4 SEC teams they played were all bottom half, Florida, and they won them all.
Yeah.
But so Ole Miss kind of skated by with an easier schedule. Yeah. So they're kind of like Oregon in that they didn't play that many tough games, but their offense is potent. Georgia, on the other hand, marquee wins at Tennessee. You have to call at Tennessee a marquee win. 44-41 in overtime, beats Ole Miss, beats Texas 35-10, and beats Alabama in the SEC championship 28-7. And then I'm calling those are the marquee wins. Georgia has, so that's 4 marquee wins. They have 4 notable wins at Auburn. Always going to Auburn and winning is tough. They beat at Auburn. They beat Florida. They beat Mississippi State at Mississippi State 41-21, and they beat Georgia Tech 16-9. So they have 8 quality wins on their schedule, and their only loss was to Alabama in the end of September game. So thoughts on given all that, Georgia, Ole Miss, who you picking?
Yeah, I'm going with the Dogs because I like Bulldogs. But Ole Miss is Kiffin. He created a little bit of a monster there, but like you said, softer schedule. But he's always been a portal player, and he's certainly
Portal King, right? He calls himself the Portal King.
He is. I mean, I don't think he. I mean. Yeah, they've signed a few high school kids, but if they need a 4 or a 5-star to make it look good in state, but I like Georgia there. I know they have their OC, Charlie Weiss Jr.
Yes,
it will be interesting to see once you get in where a game that talent equates and there's more pressure on the head coach. It will be interesting to see how Pete Golding responds to that environment because Ole Miss is they haven't been in this very weighty atmosphere since the 60s when Johnny Vaught was the head coach. I mean, I was an Archie Manning guy when I was a little kid, and my relatives would send me all this stuff on him, and I went to the 1970 Ole Miss Mississippi State game in Oxford, and Archie had the broken arm, and a guy named Shug Chumbler was the quarterback for Ole Miss, and State won the game 1914. My dad was with me, and we had a former Ole Miss cheerleader who had driven us up to the game, and my dad talked more than I'd ever heard him speak. And so, I mean, though they are, the rival, and they don't claim us because LSU is their rival, of course.
Right.
They didn't seem to have much to say about that when Mullen was there, and Joe Moorhead, who got fired, beat them twice in 2 tries, etc. But I digress, as my partner Tim May would say. I'm taking Georgia to beat Ole Miss.
I am too, and I think Kirby versus Pete Golding. Advantage Kirby.
Yeah.
Georgia's got tons of 4-star, 5-star players. Ole Miss has a really talented roster as well.
Yeah.
But I think Georgia knows how to win these. And let's call it a dogfight, because it is going to be a dogfight. Georgia's going to just pound on them. They're going to physical them. Let's see if Ole Miss can hang with that physicality. And like you said, can Charlie Weiss lead this offense and keep them productive? Because if it's 21-14 or 21-17, that's a Georgia win. Ole Miss will have to outscore and put up 35, 40 points if they want to beat Georgia. And can Charlie Weiss do it when Lane Kiffin's not there for him to consult with? I'm really fascinated by that. And Pete Golding's never been a head coach. He's been a D coordinator his whole career. I mean, he certainly was under Saban and learned his lessons. And a little noteworthy fact is that Golding was my neighbor for 4 years and lived 2 doors down. And I would see him leave at 7 a.m. every day. And he would never come home till 9 p.m. I mean, he worked his tail off.
Yeah.
And so he's a hard worker. He's going to grind. He's going to be there. But now is his time to show that he can take over this program and keep it at the heights that Lane Kiffin has gotten Ole Miss to. And that's a tall order to have to do, but this is it. This is his time to show that he can move up from being a defensive coordinator to being a high-level coach in the SEC. His wife's an Ole Miss grad, so they love being at Ole Miss. This is probably a dream job for them to have it. So now he's got his time, but I just don't think they're going to beat Georgia. I think Georgia will win here. And
I'm a numbers guy, and one thing that I noticed this morning, Georgia's pass rush is not good. It's 109th in the country, so they record 1 sack a game. So if Chambliss has time, that will certainly help, because if any solid above average quarterback has time and space, as I say, and Ole Miss has a fleet, to me. I don't know if they have one guy who's head and shoulders, but they have a bunch of guys, rangy 6'3" receivers who can operate. So
and a great running back. So they've got offensive weapons. I will say this: Georgia blitzed the heck out of Ty in the SEC championship game, and they are adopting the Brent Venables. We need to bring heat. We need to be unpredictable. We can't just sit back and play a base defense. We don't have, the Jordan Davises and the Jalen Carters up front just blowing up the middle. They have dudes. They have players, but they've had to play the younger guys, and they've had to evolve their defense, and they're using more blitz packages. And they realize that and they played him once. They realized for 3 quarters he tore them up. But then they shut him out in the 4th quarter and got that victory. So it will be interesting to see what Ole Miss does to counter what Georgia's been doing with their blitzing and their blitz packages and what they do to beat them. But I like Georgia. I like their experience. I like their roster. But I think it could be a high-scoring game. This could be the offensive fireworks extravaganza of the bowl game.
Yeah, I'm with you. I agree. Yeah.
All right, let's talk your game. Let's go Ohio State, Miami, and I want to go through Ohio State as well. And this gets back to the Big Ten. I put down one marquee win for Ohio State, and again, this speaks to the weakness of the Big Ten overall. I call that 14-7 win over Texas a marquee. Here are the other notable wins they have. They went to Washington and won 24-7. They beat Illinois pretty handily, 34-16, beat Penn State when Penn State had given other teams really good games, 38-14, handled them. And then they went to Ann Arbor and beat up on Michigan 27-9. And then I noted that they lost to Indiana, a game I thought they could have and should have won 13-10. Credit to Indiana. But I just don't feel like Ohio State got challenged to the level, and I'm not saying Miami got challenged either, because the ACC is terrible. The ACC was terrible this year, but I certainly don't, and it probably helps Ohio. And I think Ohio State has dudes. They got 4 stars, they got 5 stars, they got good portal guys, and as you said, they're healthy coming in. but I don't think they had to run through the gauntlet of the teams that Alabama and Georgia played. But, you got to play who's in your conference.
Well, I think that's why they got the wake up call there,
Mm-hmm.
because you're right. I mean, to play somebody like Indiana, who went in number one, or no,
They were number two, right? They
they
were
were
two.
two,
Ohio State was one going into that game.
and
Yes.
so yeah, they got tested in more ways than one, and so now they've at least been in the cauldron. They've been in the fire, and so that's got to help a little bit. But I just think Miami is solid. The game is won in the trenches. I don't care how many great players you have, and they recorded 7 sacks on A&M, and I can't imagine A&M with their budget, being hounded like that. And Marcel Reed's a pretty elusive guy, but I thought they earned their spurs winning that game, and yeah, they worry me.
So I think Ohio State's going to win this. I think they're going to win it by 7-10 is what I think.
Okay.
And here are the things that I think hurt Miami. Number one, Mario Cristobal. I don't trust him in big games.
Yeah,
I think he has a history of making bad coaching decisions in big games and blowing winnable games. I know he did it when he was at Oregon against Washington. Made some questionable decisions. And I think in Miami, there was a lot of questioning of his coaching the last couple of years when they had good teams and couldn't get things right. So I don't trust him there. And I don't trust Carson Beck. I think if Ohio State can pressure Beck and Beck has to pass to, and Ohio State's got a great defense. Matt Patricia, you got dudes, you got players all over the field. I wish Alabama had Caleb Downs back. That guy is a stud.
That guy's
had him on our team.
Yeah, that guy's only won like 5 postseason awards. He's walking around with a whole chest of he's a tremendous player. What a great young man, and I think he's the glue, and he has been. And yeah, they're just Ohio State gives up 8 points a game. So Indiana was averaging 41, 42, but ran into the Buckeyes and managed 13. So
now, and again, I will say this: Indiana ran up a lot of those points against bad teams.
Well, their first 3 or 4 games, Kennesaw State and many others.
And then they hung 63 on Illinois. How good is Illinois if Indiana hangs 63 on them, but can only hang 20 on Iowa and only 13 on Ohio State and put 27 on Penn State, but had to have a miracle play at the end of the game or they only put 20 on.
Right.
Yeah, and again, Indiana's really good, but and Alabama's going to have their hands full with Indiana. I'm not going to downplay that, but I just don't think Indiana 50 points a game is not representative. Their offense is more like 30 point a game kind of offense in good games.
Against what I think. Teams.
Right, against good teams. But I think if Ohio State and Patricia can draw up ways to make Carson Beck uncomfortable, he'll fumble the ball, he'll throw picks.
Yeah, I that's what I said about I didn't think they beat the Aggies for that very, very reason. He likes to give the ball away. And Ohio State their 2 edge rushers combined for almost 18 sacks. So Caden Curry is a kid that came out of home. He was a steady player, but he has made himself some money this year. Watch for number 92. So and Miami likewise, Reuben Bain and Hakeem Messidor, they can wreck your day. So I like Ohio State by how many I don't know, but almost 10-point line. I think that's a little much, but doesn't matter. 1 point better. Ryan Day says every week we do not get caught up in storylines and this and that and the other. I tell my quarterback, win the game. That's it.
Yeah. No doubt.
And saying, has learned his lesson there. And though he's not fleet of foot, I think he's learned to move well, and hopefully that will serve him well when Miami brings the heat.
Well, and he wasn't terrible against Indiana. He didn't throw
No,
4 picks or throw a
no,
pick six or anything like that.
yeah,
He
right.
just, twice in the red zone where they came up empty on big drives. You have to give him credit for getting them down there in a position.
Yeah, and
So
they ran the ball well. Bo Jackson had a nice day. I asked the two guys yesterday I was with. We did a little true false, and I said Bo Jackson will have 100 yards or more in this game, and one said, "Oh, absolutely," and the other goes, "No way." So we'll see.
and I think Ohio State can hit big pass plays downfield on Miami.
Yeah, yeah,
they lost to Louisville and
yeah, they
lost to
did,
and lost to, was it Virginia or NC State? I can't
and
remember
they
who their
lost.
other loss.
Right.
But 2 losses against teams that never should beat Miami, and that's the Cristobal effect, I think.
Yeah.
So I think, and Carson Beck under pressure will turn the ball over. If they let Carson Beck get comfortable in the pocket, he will pick Ohio
Yeah.
State apart. And
Yeah.
they've got really Malachi Tony, phenomenal player. Fletcher, good back.
Yeah.
But they don't have the plethora of weapons that Ohio State does. So I like the Bucks to move on and play Georgia in the semis. So I think we're in agreement there.
Yeah, Fletcher was committed to Ohio State initially, and
Oh,
then
wow.
yeah, and he won the game for them in that fourth quarter drive. He's getting 7 yards a tote, and 6'2", 225. He's a bull. So yeah,
Well, and with the wind swirling and the missed field goals, and Marcel Reed is turnover prone, and they
yeah,
got Marcel Reed. They said, Carson Beck, you can't beat us. So they kind of reined Carson Beck in that game, and Marcel Reed turned the ball over.
right.
And,
Yeah,
that got them. And A&M also was a beneficiary of the weakest SEC schedule until they played Texas and lost. They really hadn't played anybody that was top level SEC. They didn't play Alabama. They didn't play Georgia. They didn't play Ole Miss. They did not play the top Oklahoma. They didn't play the top SEC teams. So yeah, Texas A&M barely beats Notre Dame. They run through about. They could have lost South Carolina at home.
right.
South Carolina had them on the ropes and couldn't finish the deal.
Oh, had them. Yeah, no doubt about it.
So, yeah, Texas A&M is a really good team. Are they a top 8 team? I think they got exposed by Miami. I think they got exposed by Texas. No, I think Texas would have given Miami a much better game than Texas A&M, but, worked out the way it did.
Right,
so
right.
Those were the other thoughts I had on that. All right, you want to talk Alabama, Indiana?
Having seen I don't really see a weakness for Indiana. Their offense is as good as their defense. And maybe they haven't played the schedule, as you say. I just was a little bit taken aback how they handled Ohio State. And Ohio State played them the year before in their coming out party and won 30.
And exposed them.
Oh, 38.
And then Notre Dame exposed them too. This Indiana team is not the 2024 team. It's a better team.
They're much better.
Yeah.
I would give IU a slight edge, but Alabama's Alabama. So, but yeah, I guess I see Indiana and Ohio State on a collision course, but.
So let's talk about that. So number one, Indiana, 2 marquee wins, Ohio State and at Oregon.
Yeah.
Notable wins. They destroyed Illinois, but how good is Illinois? They beat Iowa at Iowa, but had to score late to win. How good is Iowa? They beat a diminished Penn State team barely on a last-second play, and then nobody else on their schedule was any good. They're 13-0, but if you look at that, you take 5 games out of that, and they're 8-0 against cupcakes. I mean, just So a lot of their numbers were put up against cupcakes. And then let me see if I've got the stats here. These are really, really interesting stats. I just want to go back to if you compare, bear with me one second.
Yeah.
I just want to talk about how Mendoza did
Against better teams.
Yeah. So this is what's fascinating to me. It's going to take me a second to find these stats, but Mendoza. I've got it right here. Okay, Ty Simpson's toughest games. You know, the Georgias of the world, the Oklahomas, top-notch defenses.
Yeah.
Ty Simpson averaged a completion rate of 62%. Ty Simpson put 270 yards up, and he averaged 1.7 touchdowns per game and averaged a half an interception a game. So he had almost call it a 2-to-1 ratio of touchdowns to interceptions, or even less than that, probably 2.5-to-1, something like that. Mendoza, against his 5 toughest opponents, averaged a completion percentage of 63%. His yards through the air were 217 per game. So Ty's putting up 270. He's putting up, and his average touchdowns was 1.2 per game. So only throwing 1 touchdown pass per game. And he's averaging 1 pick per game.
Yeah.
So you throw him in the ring with really tough, top-notch teams. He was not putting up 300 yards a game. He wasn't throwing 4 touchdowns a game, and he wasn't averaging 0.2 interceptions a game. He threw 6 picks against his 5 toughest opponents. So, and then his 8 easiest games, listen to this, his 8 easiest games, his completion percentage was 77%.
Yeah. Yeah.
He only averaged 236 yards per game passing, but their offense was averaging 250 yards a game rushing in those games. So they were just blowing it. And he threw 3.4 touchdowns per game in those 8 easiest games. And he averaged 0.13 interceptions per game. So he's going to face a top 10 defense. He's going to face a top 10 defense. He's going to be, Indiana's going to be much closer to scoring 13 points a game than they are scoring 35 or 40 points a game. They're not putting up 30 on Alabama.
Yeah.
They're going to, I think whoever can put up 24 points in this game wins. And Alabama has put up only 1 game, well, 2 games have we not scored 20 points in a game. We scored 17 against FSU at the beginning of the season. Throw that out. We were poorly coached, poorly prepared. It was a coaching D for DeBoer and his staff in the FSU game. And then the Georgia game, we scored 7, but we were beat up. We were terrible. We just hung 34 on Oklahoma, who's got a better defense than Georgia. And we just hung 34 on them, and we hung 21 on them when Oklahoma came here. Again, a really good defense, and we threw a pick 6. Ty had a strip sack fumble in that game. We had missed field goal from 29 yards, and we were terrible in that game. We lost the turnover battle 3-0 against Oklahoma, and Ty still put up 21 points, and we should have had 24. So my point is, we're going to score on Indiana. If they think they're going to hold us to 14 or 10, good luck. We're going to hang 21-30 on them, and it's a question of can they outscore us, not the other way around. That's how Alabama's going to win this. Your thoughts about that as I paint the optimistic picture about why we're going to beat Indiana.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to see it. And I'll be calling you, John, if Indiana rolls into the end zone for their 30-something point of the night.
Fair enough.
I think Indiana is weaker because this Daly kid is out.
Yep.
I think he is their best defensive lineman. I've seen bits and pieces of Alabama, and it's like, well, that's the old Alabama right there. And then some other play you wonder. But what about your guy Ryan? Is he primed and pumped, ready to get the receiver
Ryan's a non-factor. He's had a sophomore slump that's
Yeah.
super surprising. He's got one of the highest drop rates of any high-level receiver in the country who's starting every game and getting a lot of targets.
And he's still starting, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, he's starting, but he's not playing the whole game. Lotsier Brooks, remember that name. He's the guy that caught 2 touchdown passes and had big plays against Oklahoma. He's been really good all season. He just hadn't gotten in the end zone. Zay Horton, Jerm Bernard, he mossed that Oklahoma guy and caught that off his helmet. Our backs can catch the ball. Jam Miller's healthy, Daniel Hill. But the big thing, and Cuevas, our tight end. So we've got a lot of weapons. They can't shut them all down. And guess what? Everybody's like, oh, Alabama can't run the ball. Well, guess what? We've won lots of games without running the ball effectively all year. We've won lots of games. We know this is not, and I will say it's not your old Alabama game in the terms of we don't have a good running game. And the problem is we don't have a running back who can, when he hits the second level, run away from the defense. We don't have Derrick Henry. We don't have Jahmyr Gibbs. I admit that. But guess what? When we win games, we have a 50-50 run-pass balance. Because if you put 4 men in the box or 5 men in the box and allow us to run the ball, we're going to get 5 to 7 yards. We can get those yards. We're just not getting the 50-yard touchdown run, the 30-yard touchdown run. We're not getting those. We don't have that back.
Chunk plays.
Yeah, we don't have that back.
Daniel Hill, to me, has played really, really well. Followed him because isn't he a Mississippi kid?
He is a Mississippi guy. Yeah, 4-star out of Mississippi. Yes.
Yeah, I know Mississippi State was trying to do everything they could to get him. And then I see him show up there, and he's been solid. He moves the chains like Fletcher moves the chains to me. Because he's a kind of a
he falls forward and gets 3 yards.
That's it.
So in here's how Indiana beats Alabama. They turn us over. They get us to turn the ball over 3 times. Ty throws a pick or 2, or Ty has a pick. He gets sacked, strip sack, fumble. They get 3 turnovers out of us, and then the Alabama special teams miss field goals, get a punt block, do stupid stuff like that. And that's so. If we're talking edges in this game, Cignetti is a bet. I hate to say this, Cignetti's a better coach than DeBoer.
Well, no, I wouldn't get. Yeah, but
he is. He's a better coach than DeBoer.
Yeah, I think Cignetti has given Indiana wins when maybe they didn't. I think he's done an incredible job.
They don't make mistakes. They don't beat themselves.
They don't. They
don't commit dumb penalties. Their special teams are buttoned up. So those things, we're not going to get gifts. We might force some turnovers. We're not going to get gifts. So if they win the turnover battle, they win. If Ty Simpson, they're going to have to put pressure on Ty Simpson. How does Ty handle it? But he's seen it. He's seen LSU's defense is ferocious. Auburn's defense, ferocious. Georgia's defense, really, really good. Oklahoma defense. Brent Venables is as good a defensive coordinator as anybody in the country. Even though he's a head coach, he calls that defense. I would say he's as good or better than Matt Patricia. And Matt Patricia is one of the 3 best defensive coordinators in the country. So we've seen – we're not going to be surprised by them. It's just, do they tackle well enough? They probably do. Can they get pressure without blitzing? If they can get pressure without blitzing, that'll cause a problem. But we're going to put 20 to 30 points on them. And can we hold them down? But we've held down other good offenses. Our defense is really, really good, but we're susceptible to chunk plays. Sometimes our guys get out of alignment. They don't get their hit. And that's where Cignetti's guys, I don't think they ever, don't have their hips positioned. They set the edge. They do those little things that add up. And I've questioned that all year, but I've seen our defense go from horrible against FSU. And I wanted to get rid of the defensive coordinator after FSU to really, I've seen our defense grow, and we didn't lose the Georgia game because our defense played poorly. Our defense played really, really well. We were hurt. We were beat up. Our play calling was suspect, and we kind of knew we were in the playoffs, and it just wasn't our day, but our backs weren't against the wall. Every time Alabama's backs have been against the wall this year, they have delivered and won. We know how to win when our backs are, and it's one and done. Everybody's in the same position. I like our chances, and Indiana has not played, other than Ohio State, I don't think they played a team as good as Alabama. That's my
Right.
argument.
All
I don't
right.
think Oregon's as good as
All
we.
right. Yeah. Well, let's.
So what are you picking? Are you picking a 3-point, 7-point win by Indiana? What's your
Uh,
pick there?
I haven't given it that much a thought.
Give a quick pick. Let's do this.
I would say I would, yeah, with their pass rush now negated somewhat. I'm going to say Indiana by 3. Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
by the barest.
I'm going to say Alabama 27. Nope. I'm going to say Alabama 28, Indiana 20.
Okay.
We're going to surprise them and beat
Yeah.
them. And I just don't think Indiana's going undefeated and going to hang a natty. And we're going to be the ones to knock them out, not them get to the finals and then get
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
they're going to go home. I think the days of undefeated teams running the tables and winning a national championship, going 16 or 17-0, those are over.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the NIL has just spread the talent around, and it's just hard to win them all.
Let's have a Bama Ohio State final.
That's what I like. That's what I like. But the SEC homers want Georgia Alabama in the finals, and that'll be like the Muhammad Ali, George Foreman, or Joe Frazier round 3, the thriller
in Manila. That's what
but for us, so we can do some more podcasts, we wanted to go all the way to Alabama, Ohio State, and do some more fun discussions like that. Yeah. But anyway, that's where I am on all this. And Clay, all right, any parting shots? Any final thoughts about all this fun stuff?
No, I'm just you kind of Christmas is over and then you're like, okay, now we can get on to the games. And I still, even though I'll be sitting at home, I will be able to voice my displeasure or pleasure. My wife is taking one of my sons to go see the grandkids in PA. And so at any rate, it's going to be great. I think Ohio State loves to play in Jerry World. I think they'll find what they need and move on. Ryan Day's on a mission, though he knows he exercised a demon, and everybody. It's amazing when you beat Michigan around here. People are just the angst goes away. He earned so much cred by winning it all last year, but then everybody, it was like, but he still hasn't handled this problem. And so they celebrated, but they were always kind of, and even Sharon Moore can win 9 games at Michigan. I mean, old Urban's buddy, is gonna do well there. I think he's gonna solidify what they have, and it'll be interesting to see.
Well, and I assume Dave Portnoy and Larry Ellison are going to cut some checks and make sure they got all the funds they need.
Well, they're gonna, if they have to pay Underwood any more money, they're gonna be broke, though. I mean, we'll see, but
Ellison's he's a billionaire, 30 times over. He can cut some checks.
John, good to see you, man. Thanks for the time.
I appreciate it. And, let me know if you guys want to get an SEC perspective, reach out. I'm happy to do that for you guys.
Okay.
And all right, everybody, thanks for listening. Like, subscribe, follow us. We appreciate you all listening. God bless and roll tide.